Evening and a very warm welcome to the Knowledge series, which is a part of L&D Elysium 2021 Learning and Development Summit and Awards, organized by Ashish Sen Consulting and Coaching and Indian Institute of Public Administration, which will be conducted in the month of February 2021. Joining us today is Dr. P.S. James, who is a professor of leadership and management at Jagdish Seth School of Management, formerly IFIM Business School. He has done his PhD in management and is an approved doctoral supervisor. He holds an MSc in psychology, MSc in defense studies, and MBA degree, is an accredited management teacher, along holding many other certifications. Some of the courses that he has taught are Role Competency Model of Leadership, Developing Competencies for the Critical Leadership Roles of Direction Setting, Creating Alignment, and Creating Engagement, HR and Business Partnering with focus on capability building to meet expansion strategy, Learning and Development with focus on competency-driven learning systems, and how to use learning and development to create competitiveness, to name a few. Welcome, sir. It's an honor to have you amongst us today.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for taking out some time and then adding value to the knowledge series that we are creating right now for our event, that is L&D event Elysium 2021, which is to be conducted in the February next year, sir.
Next year, very good.
So, sir, with all the the credentials that we have heard, I have a very interesting question for you. Like, what are the competencies that the leaders have to develop now in this changing digital world? So what are the major competencies that they need to work on?
Divide your question and answer in two parts. First is I will talk about the competencies of a leader, and then about the digital age modifications and variations that we need to look at it. Okay. First of all, any competency is related to the role that we play in any job. So if you are working as a receptionist role, then there's a competencies for that. If you're working as a professor, there's a competencies for it. So the leadership is not an exception to this role, right? Okay. Leaders play three important roles. One is direction setting. Direction setting, in which direction the team or the organization should go. That's what I mean by direction setting. Now that might change, the levels might change. Somebody might be doing at the team level, somebody might be doing at organizational level, somebody might be the leaders in the department, somebody might be leader of Amazon. I mean, it can be as big as Amazon or Microsoft or whatever it is, or Google. But no matter whether they are a small type of leader or a bigger type of, in the hierarchical level, they will all set direction either for their team, for their department, or for their organization. So which direction they should go. So that's what the first role. And the second role is you got to get the people aligned to that particular direction. It's not enough to set the direction, but people have to work for that direction, right? Okay. Because that is where the execution efficiency comes. Execution efficiency of the team, the department, or the organization. Because without execution, there is nothing called leadership, right? Okay. For example, Gandhi, he had a role, okay, and his focus was on execution of getting independent, and that is true for organizations also, right? Okay, so that's what's important to keep about it. So the alignment is the second role, and third is engagement. The people have to be engaged if they want to get committed and aligned to this role. So in relation to these three roles, there are very clear competencies which you can, actually identify. One is vision building. It's a competency. Okay, vision building doesn't come from the air. It actually is a competency that you can practice. And one of the interesting articles that people should read is the famous organization vision and visionary organization by Collins and Porras. It's a celebrated article in the Harvard, based on which most Western countries develop their vision statement. Now, he says very clearly in that a vision will be having, some core values, 3 or 4 of them, some core purpose, what is that you want to be, and then big, hairy, audacious goal, which the Western people call it as BHAG, B-H-A-G, right? Okay. So audacious goal, that's the third one. Now, people might ask, what is this BHAG? Actually, big, hairy, audacious goal. That hairy word has come from Western literature, actually American literature, where, parents talk to their children about, the bear coming, hairy bear coming. So that is the audaciousness of a bear. That's why they actually call it about it. He further says an audacious goal is something which is about 70% achievable, but not 100%. If it's 100%, it's not audacious. But if it is 30-40%, it's pipe dream, it's not audacious. Right. So you can make it, based on a probabilistic method, you can say what are the, direction that you can set in a time frame. Okay. So the time frame is another important aspect to it. I have taught this course many times to our students. I've done research on many of the Indian organizations versus the Western organization. I think you can take the top 30 Indian organization. You will never find a vision which is built as per college model. I'm not saying that you should be necessarily build that model, but that model has got a certain strength. It is a competency. And if you learn it as a competency at the team level, at our organization level, the person can set the direction in no time. Okay, instead of having, long-winding discussions are required to get the people on board. Discussions are not required so much to find out what are the components. Components are pretty well researched and established. Second is alignment. People should get aligned to the goal. How do you align people? There are two competencies for it. One is performance management. You see, when the overall visions or the vision is actually converted into goals and given to people, and it is managed through performance management. So performance management competency is one component or one competency that is required. And the second is change management. So this performance management and change management will come in alternative. You are doing performance, but performance is insufficient. Therefore, I must manage change. I must go to a new era. And then you go to stabilize that. You stabilize it through the performance management. So the performance management and change management competencies are pretty well defined. How to do management performance, very well defined. And for change management is also well defined. It's very easy to take the book of John Cotter, which takes you the 8 steps of change management. I think if you can handle it, you'll be pretty good at it as a competency. The third one, which is engagement. Okay, how to engage people. That competency probably, it looks very simplistic last, but a little more complex because it talks about, providing motivational support, managing diversity, the coaching of the people and developing of the people, and everything that is related to getting the person engaged to the goal. Now, I would actually say, after the vision setting or the direction setting, the second most important is engagement. If people are not engaged, they won't change. If people are not engaged, they will not perform. So probably that comes before engagement, though from an organizational perspective, alignment will come before engagement. That's okay. So these 8 competencies, which are related, 5 of them related to engagement, okay, and 2 of them related to alignment and 1 related to the role. This is what is required for a person to be a leader, whether it is in the context of a team, or larger one like an organization or even a nation, right? Now, because of various changes that has taken place, and your question might be hinting at what happens because of COVID or something like that. Right, okay, or what happened because of the digital age, right? Essentially, it doesn't make much difference. It will be the same, direction setting, new direction, aligning and engaging people to that. But certain skills the leader may be required so that he aligns well with the other people. And one of them is the agility to use digital method or comfort to use the digital method. I've seen leaders of both category. If the guy cannot see the person who is working with in front of him physically, he feels very uncomfortable, and then he doesn't want to do it on the digital mode. Okay, he would rather sit with the 2 masks stuck to his face and talking, which is not clear to anybody, rather than do it like we are doing now on a kind of a Zoom or any other method, and become very digitally comfortable. That's the point which I've seen. Second is that leaders have to be greatly comfortable with the data science, right? Okay. So there is a large amount of data out there in the market. So they give you certain patterns. Now, if you say that, I will take only rule of thumb decisions all the time and not look at the data, then I'm sure the leader is living in the old world and he will not be able to align. Okay, he will not be able to align. Okay. And he will not even, because he will not be able to manage performance. because performance will be based on rule of thumb rather than the data. You will not be able to change because change will not be quantified. So that becomes a big challenge for them. Third is, which I find in the current circumstances, is the kind of agility, which a lot of people actually talk about it. Right. Agility is, I would simply put it as in a VUCA world. Okay, we are living in a volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous world. Therefore, when you look at a situation like this, what you're looking at, are we scenario building? Okay, our ability to do scenario building, right? For example, let me say, there's a famous article in Harvard called "Preparing for the Pandemic," which came in 2014. It talks about the avian flu mutating and coming to human beings and what could happen and what we could do. Of course, it did not happen that way, but it happened through maybe some kind of a virus that was set off in China or whatever it is, but it came. But nobody had read the work on 2014. Really, not many people really know about having Harvard written on it very eloquently in one of their special articles. So this is because our inability, what has happened today is because of our inability to build scenarios. So therefore, we came with the assumption, oh, COVID is nothing, it'll go away in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. Okay. Then we say 8 weeks, then we say 8 months, and then we don't know. Okay. And then we give it up as a bad joke. We said, okay, let's see what happened. A few people will die, 300 will die. And then we justify in flu, so many die, in road accidents, so many die. Right, okay. And therefore, why not in COVID also some will die? Okay, we come out with that. That's because of scenario building deficiency. So if you make scenarios and plans for each one of them and build reserve for it, it works very well. Right? The capability building is where the reserve building is where the leaders really come and play. And a good example is within our own country is the Kerala model versus the other model. Kerala still have a large number of people getting affected, but the death rate is very low. Okay, so that's a very significant factor, right? Again, despite getting infected, you can save life. Infection, maybe you have control, maybe very limited. Okay, but saving life is really a very important factor in this kind of a situation, right? So that is the third competency. Scenario building and preparing for that will actually eventually, insulate them against VUCA, and they will actually be considered as very efficient, leaders. Okay, and a good example, if you want to further look at it, don't look at it within the country. Look at the New Zealand PM and how the New Zealand has managed with 25 deaths so far, right? Okay, and a very modern Western country with a lot of interaction in the West, and how the other countries have planned it. You probably get an understanding of how the leaders who build scenarios and act upon it, even if it is not the most popular decision, okay, would actually eventually be more effective. So these are the competencies. First, which I told you, those 8 competencies. In addition to that, digital comfort, data science comfort, scenario building competencies. This is what I would say the modern leaders really require. Yeah, I'm done with that.
That's really wonderful, sir. Yeah, I think scenario building competency is something which is new. And then this, Harvard, article that you have mentioned about the pandemic is something which I think people should have taken it a bit seriously so that they could have some knowledge at least about how to handle a situation. So that's wonderful, sir. Shivika.
Right, sir. So, sir, now that we've talked about, leaders in organizations, whether it or, maybe in the nation, now that we come to the students, what are the skills or the competencies which can be taught or are already being taught, to students in management colleges, just so that, for the new world that we'll be stepping into. So how are we preparing them? How are we going to empower them? That's my question for you.
Yeah, that is a very interesting question, because how do we prepare our young people from management schools or other places to lead? Okay, so the basic three roles they will play. So that is, let us not have any doubt on that. That's pretty very clear on that. Now, what are the competencies that you should really look for when you are going to handle this, any situation, which are not necessarily pandemic, but in the new context, right? Okay. The first foremost context which I feel our young people lack is execution. Okay, they are great strategists, but don't tell them to do anything. They should get somebody else. The professor should do the job for them. But otherwise, they will strategize fantastic, out of the world strategies, right? Okay, that they come out of. Second is that that's one component about it. Second is that they all want to be entrepreneurs. That is one of the competencies, no doubt about it. But they don't want to understand there is something called cash flow in organizations. So the understanding of cash flow, how it is managed, that will be one of the most important things if they want to be entrepreneurs, or even if they want to pick up a project within an organization. Not necessarily, even if you want to take it up within the organization, you should understand the project cash flow. Okay, that makes it the sustainable. A project is not sustainable if you cannot really get the surplus out of it. That's the second competency. Third competency, of course, is we find many of them, okay, woefully inadequate in written communication and oral communication. Now, people might take it light, or people might say it's the same old story James is saying. The problem is that you have a fantastic idea in your mind, okay, but when you cannot be written and converted into proper oral and written communication, only you understand it, nobody else. Including a great vision and including the way you want to change the world, only you understand. And nobody else understands, and therefore nobody wants to support you. And then you go frustrated saying that nobody is supporting me, because what you speak, the others don't understand what it is, because you're not clear in your communication, right? Again. Third is, great hurry to achieve, success. Now, I think in psychology, there is a particular word called delaying gratification. And delaying gratification. And there's a famous experiment on it by giving marshmallow, which is a kind of a melting sweet, which the Americans use. So the children were put in front of marshmallow and they were told that, if you wait for 10 minutes, without eating it, we will give you 2 marshmallows, to eat with. And the experimenters turned on the heat in the room. So the marshmallow kept melting, and the kids started, want to eat, don't want to eat, don't do, somebody gulped it. At the end of the experiment, they followed up these people for about 30 to 40 years. They found those who actually delayed it for the 10 minutes, delaying gratification, performed well in all aspects, including career, family life, and all that. So therefore, there is a need for our young leaders to understand that they need to delay the gratification. Goals are good, but it will come through only over a period of time when certain competencies are anchored very well. These are what I think is most important if they want to do it. The challenge over there is for the young people is that they need mentorship, professional mentorship. And that is most of the time lacking. Right? Okay. I can tell you that when I just came to the school a little before, a few months before. So when the people were taken in the COVID era for admission, so I did not wait I said from the day one, there should be a mentor. And the mentor must speak to the students on one-on-one on phone. Because the whole ambiguity, when will COVID go? Will I get a degree? Will I get a job? All is working in their mind. So only a mentor can actually connect and put them at peace and put them on the track. Okay. So the mentor should not come after 5 months, Okay. The student will come to the college. I will physically see. Then I will, find the mentor. Meanwhile, the horse has bolted out of the, stable. What damage has to happen has happened. So there's a continuous mentorship that is required. Now, if you look at the Western education and Indian education, this mentorship is a very important component that actually you will find in the West. Probably there are structured mentorship that is available. Even if it is, even if you take an appointment to talk to a faculty, I sometimes, because I studied in Canada, I sometimes feel it is good, because then the person will come, take an appointment from me, and come prepared with some questions or something to clarify. In India, of course, that system is not there. If you say you take appointment, most of the students want to come. They want to casually call on, and they want to actually talk, general things, and they don't have a specific question. And since we don't have a specific question, we don't have any specific answers either. So both parties are very happy. Okay, they walk in with some random questions and we give some random answers to it. So the mentorship of a serious nature can guide people, can be another thing which can make a difference to the students when they come to the into the corporate world. So then exactly what they're going to go for. So I think these are some of the changes that schools should need to do so that the students can become more productive and more effective for themselves. Right?
That is very
Sir,
insightful, sir. Thank you. Thank you for that answer.
yes, sir. So we have talked about the leaders and the competencies. Then we have talked about the students and what is the dire need for the students to develop a certain skill or a competency. Now, the third question that I would like to ask was in this present education system, right? There's a certain way that the student's mind is conditioned, even their behavior as well. So, what is the mindset that we can look for in the students in the coming days? Because there's a paradigm shift in the way the learning might change, the way the students are learning. So there are going to be a lot of changes. So, what are the mindset and the behavior that we can anticipate in students?
The behavior we can anticipate from the students is that they have an uncanny knack for shallow engagement. Right? Okay. What is shallow engagement? Let me say. For example, you are recording this conversation. Done good. Very good, really good. Now this is in the class, and many other classes do recordings. Because very fashionable. You can have imparters, you can have any amount of this field. Okay? So they feel that, in the class they can sit and daydream and maybe look at the mobile and the messages, Facebook on the slide, even if there's a very strict rules for not doing it. And then, we will go back, and when the requirement comes, we will hear this recording and study at our own pace. This is one of the most dangerous habits I've seen. Okay, because good faculty members insist on, they're very clear on what is must learn, should learn, and could learn when they deliver something. The must learn they drive home in the class, either through cases or through discussions or whatever it is, PowerPoint. These people miss out the must learn because they feel, we'll see the recording and this and that and all that. Right, again. And when they miss out on a face-to-face contact, the must learn, they take much longer to make it up. Now, when you ask a must learn application question in the examination, most of them give general answers. So, for example, I've seen even very premier school, I give a case. For example, 12 Angry Men is a well-known film, which a lot of people from the OB, but it is not only OB, it talks a lot about the behavior in general. And if we ask a question, what are the perceptual biases which these people demonstrated? Okay. And how will one of them buy a product? I'm just doing a cross-functional. So open-mindedness leads to experimentation, they would not really answer to the point. They will make some general common sense answer. They will say, what is perceptual bias? They will say, mindset is this thing. You should have an open mindset, this and that. They will not really be able to home on to this is stereotyping. So I will think about a person because of his, educational context or his living context, and I will brand you like this is something that they will not really understand. Maybe 5%, 10% of the class will do it. The rest will not do. So when they don't do that, they are not able to transpose this knowledge into a new context. So the knowledge is shallow. A shallow knowledge is not transportable. Okay, a deep knowledge is transportable. If you know how to look at this particular context in depth, okay, perceptual bias, those are the people who do not show they had open-mindedness, right? Okay, they also showed learning in this particular way through classical conditioning or, through social learning or whatever method, right? Okay, they also demonstrate motivation to act. So this one idea is into multiple concepts, it, goes in that. When they have that ability, they will be able to integrate. But most of them will not have that ability. So this is one, very gray area of the, shallow learning method with many of the people adopt, right? Okay. And, somehow they get through, right? Okay. And the industry is in need of people. They need somebody or the other. You see, they cannot keep everything vacant for waiting for the ideal person to come. So they take someone because they need a job done. And but it does not optimize the result for the student. It is harmful for the student more than it is harmful for the industry, because industry looks at it in a very different way. See, for a student, for me, if I'm a student, I'm 100%. Okay. For industry, I may be in the 20% who is highly productive, or 80% whom I don't really care very much. Okay. Though I talk a lot of big stuff, everybody is very valuable and all that. If I belong to the 80% and I want to live it, there's a very good, James, you go. They won't shed a tear about it. But if you're the 20%, they might haggle with all that. So the student don't realize this 80-20 rule. For the student, the loss is 100%. For the corporate, I would say the loss is probably about 70%, 80% of the person, but they can always replace without shedding a tear. So they would probably say, okay, very good. They will give them at a different pay scale, different profile scale. But as far as they get their 20-30% smart guys, they'll be well off. But if you are not in that 20-30%, it is 100% loss for me. If I'm not part of the 20-30%, it's 100% loss for me. It is not really 100% loss for the organization. A lot of students don't realize this, that the loss is to myself than to the other person. Okay, that is one of the things our students should be learned in the new context for them to actually prosper. I would put it that way. So that is one side of what you talked about. The second, of course, the competencies, I already touched upon it. Now, the new education scenario context, right? Okay, we can try to overcome a lot of these lacunas. Okay, for that, I think modulated learning is one method. What are the modules that join together, right, and make sense? Okay, so I gave you an example of this. I teach organization behavior. I teach behavior, not really organizational behavior. So you could talk about behavior of a person, which has got these 5 basic pillars of individual behavior, a team behavior. Okay, then you got ethics and communication as a tool to influence. These are some of the basic components of any behavior course. So we could just take out which is the key of it. Okay, and how that key can be put together and delivered to the student. Maybe it doesn't require so many sessions, I would say. It probably requires 5, 6, 7 sessions to deliver it, and then they could do a lot of practicals on it. Okay, so the practice-based course and theory-based course, in which the practice-based courses or the practice-based component of a course should have a higher weightage, so that at least they will do something. Okay, this doesn't normally happen in a class, even if you teach cases. Cases are very good for decision making and analysis, but not for the other aspects of learning by doing. In cases, you never do learning by doing. You're doing a case which is somebody else's baby, somebody else taking a decision. You are critiquing it from a point of high pedestal. Oh, he could have done like this, he could have done like this. Okay, but when the person has to actually do it on projects, the person will actually demonstrate different behaviors. So the classroom lectures, about 1/3 I would call it, and practice action in a group or a context, about 675. I mean, about another 2/3 would make them more engaged in this work, because they cannot do a theoretical focus like they did it in the earlier times. I mean, I'm not trying to tell you the earlier people were smarter. Okay, what probably with the difference is, earlier the number of vacancies for any course was very limited, whether it is MBA or economics or statistics. Okay, so only those people who are willing to dwell deeply came. Others, when some apprenticeship or something else. Now startups not like everybody is coming into an academic orientation. So therefore, you will also find their orientation would be very, very different. So we cannot compare old. I was like this, so you should be like that. I'm not saying that. I would say our time it worked, but it will not work now. And therefore, the new method of a 1/3, 2/3 would be a very fair method.
That's really wonderful, sir. So a lot of insights. Yes, there has been a lot of change, and I think the system also needs to change a bit so that it becomes more industry friendly now, because it's always student friendly, but industry friendly is something we are looking at.
Right, sir. So now that we have come into we're talking about education and things around education. What is your opinion on the new education policy which is to be implemented, and what are the positives that we can look at in the learning scenario?
First of all, just rewinding a little bit, there is no difference between student friendly and industry friendly. Okay, if when you make a student ready for the industry, you're actually being student friendly more than industry friendly, because it directly helps the student, right? Okay, that I told you, because I said, students, for the student is 100%, for the industry it's only 70%, 80%, 70%. So they can manage, they will know how to manage it, okay, at organizational level. If a particular competency is not available, they will go for artificial intelligence. They'll take it from somewhere else, right? Okay. If Western countries didn't have enough manpower, they'll pick it up from somewhere else, right? Okay. And one of the classic example is a lot of HR people are picked up from XLRI because they are world-class HR talent. So it's not available in the West, so they'll pick it up from XLRI and then make them groom them into international HR leaders, right? So they will pick it up from somewhere or the other. But for student, and the parent, it is 100%. So that we need to look at it, the orientation that way. Now, coming to the new education policy, okay, it all really depends upon how our educational entrepreneurs and educational leaders in the government system play up. One of the good things that has come up in the new education policy is the flexibility to award degree. Now, it can lead to a very rigorous degree under a particular management. It can lead to an absolutely riff-raff degree under a different management. And the best example is that you must have seen in the US. Okay, there are a lot of US does not have a university grant commission. Anybody can start a university. You can have even a hamburger university which will teach you only made burgers and still give a bachelor's degree in burger making. And a lot of our students have gone to American universities without any credibility whatsoever and lost their money, right? Okay, and they won't get a job for it what it's worth. Now the same thing what has happened in the US can get repeated here when the regulator moves out and gives it a choice to the people. Okay, and the impact can be very catastrophic in Indian context, because in the Western context, what happens is, the universities which are reputed, okay, fairly well reputed. I don't say necessarily highly reputed. Okay, even fairly well reputed universities in the United States or in Europe will be large entities. They'll be almost like a state. Okay, many of them have a budget in the range of about $6 to $7 billion per year. So the seriousness with which they will actually deliver, because they have to live up to that. They are their own campus, their own police, so the minimum standards will be met. Okay, you can easily find it out. In Indian context, what happens is that it can become a big hodgepodge. Okay, private players, awarding degrees without the rigor. Okay, so it could lead into a very, risky situation of degree without a job. Okay. See, I want to illustrate it further. If you look at any placement, any companies who come for placement, they don't really look at the ranking, which is published by various publications, whether it is MBA or anything. They go by their own assessment of the institution based on previous intake and how they have performed. And for them, it's very easy to find it out. See, I come to X college, pick up 10 people this year. Within 9 months, I can identify how they have performed. So I can make a direct correlation between the college cohort which I have taken and the performance they have done, and I can say this college is not worth going or not worth going. Okay. Student doesn't have that flexibility. Okay. So student comes with a leap of faith and join an institution and pays the fees. Now the person is stuck for 3 years or 2 years, whatever it is. He has to suffer the management, whether it is high quality or no quality, because your money is stuck. You can't leave. You can't tell your father after 2 years, hey, this college is not very good. Let me exit and go somewhere else. Very few parents can actually do that. Okay. One insulation which the government can do is, partial credit transfer. Right. They can actually mandate it that if I leave X college and go to Y college, okay, the credits that I earned in X college will be carried to Y college, and Y college can accept it. So if you make a mistake for 1 year, okay, and let's say you done, say for example, an MBA program, which is about 109 credits or so. So you done 1 year, or you done even 6 months, right? Okay, and you realize it's not the right place and for the right money. Okay, so but I've already gone through credits, which is probably about 1/4 of it, about 25 credits. So I got a new place which says, yeah, I have a place, I can give it to you, right? Okay, I can give a place. I looked at your 25 credits, right, and challenge exam, but I can't give you all the 25 credits because some of your standards are not up to me, but I'll give you 15 credits out of it, for example. Okay, 10 credits, you'll have to forgo the money. So you may have to do it for a little more time here. Now, if you do that, then the heat will be on the people who don't perform, because students will exit. And there should be also equally a ruling that, a person, you can only take 6 months advance payment and not for the 2 years and keep it in your pocket, right? So that the person has got an exit option after 6 months, and a little more flexibility on the number of students you can actually pick up in the midterm. Okay, you say 60, I'll build it on one section 60 students. But they can say, look, if it is a transferee, you can have another 5 more students. So you give the receiving institution the flexibility to absorb, a good institution. You put the, supplying institution with low quality under warning that you will have a vacancy which goes from you forever for next. So 3/4 the money you won't get, you'll get only 25%. So you better behave and do a good quality. So that is the way the NEP, when the rules are coming, should be able to insulate. Then cross-functional movement is possible. This happens in the US universities. You can skip one place and go to other places, so far as they accept the credits. That will insulate the students. Otherwise, students could be very vulnerable. Okay, now I put it from policy perspective. But the facility of exiting out of the university system and each person awarding the degree can be very useful, provided there is some kind of a, tightening of the situation. For example, they can say that if you want to be autonomous, an NBA is a mandatory. Till the time you underwork under regulated. When you get an NBA, some kind of a regulatory control comes, then yes, you could actually move into the NBA kind of, autonomous kind of situation, not that, you're free from all. So the NEPs has got fantastic features, but it also, when it comes to implementation, it needs to put certain amount of controls on the, people who will run amok. Otherwise, some management will really run amok and, have large numbers and corner their money and then make it very difficult to go. And there has to be, similarly, there has to be mandating on, holding of the certificate, both of the faculty and the students. They're very known for this. Some of these people who are, very low, and they will hold the faculty's thing. And though Supreme Court has ruled against it, but still a lot of people, do that. But it need to come out with heavy penalty for this, holding the certificate, because that can hold somebody to ransom. Certificate, I will not give you certificate, where can you go? So that should not be the case. He says, after you verify, you are well in your consent to bring original, I'll verify. So you verify and sign it and keep your verified. Why do you want to hold the original for it all? That's the only reason you want to hold your ransom. Okay, so there should be some kind of a provision to insulate against that. So then of course, the faculty capability development, that is an important factor. The NEP has to be successful. How to enhance the capability of the faculty, right? Okay, so there has to be some very, very centralized arrangement, which is this. It is the faculty capability which has held up all our work, really speaking. Otherwise, we have got about 20 IIMs, I think. We can have 100 IIMs if we have the correct faculty, but we don't have. Even IIMs don't have. they can't expand to 100. They won't be able to expand to 40. They will collapse under their weight because the faculty is not there. So the faculty capability building is an extremely important factor, and not through small courses. There has to be, structured formal courses, case method, and all that. I wish NEP will also include a very strong certification system for faculty, right? So one is, of course, they say you should put the NET and the PhD, but that's only the research side of it. But there should be some mandatory certification in which the faculty would actually attend classes, 5 months, 6 months, get certified, after which only you can get into the skills. Then if these things come together, I think NEP will be fantastic. Right. Selection by a company depends upon 2-3 factors.
So, sir, I just wanted to ask you this question, which is a bit off track, but a lot of students are not. They go for these campus placements. There's a proper process which goes on. So, but few students are left out. They're not selected for any company. And then in this situation, which is quite turbulent, students feel demotivated when they're not getting any position somewhere. So would you like to say something about it, and then a message for the students to keep them motivated?
Keep them motivated. To keep them motivated, I would only say keep trying, never give up. Okay, but that is a very generic statement, okay, which everybody in the street also will probably give it. Every motivational speaker give it, but that is not what I want to tell them. You see, when you look for a job, first there are certain competencies people look for in the companies. Okay. Now, please appreciate the role of the person who's coming to select you. He is an HR manager or the line manager. He has to select you and ensure productivity from you. Otherwise, his back will be on fire for bringing somebody in who is not suitable, because he is accountable to his bosses. Okay, let's be very clear on that. So they will only pick up a person who is the best, whom they really want. Okay. Now, who is the best? Okay. The best is the person who has got the competencies to do the job. So a student should know what is the job role I'm applying for and what is the competency meant for it. Right. It is not very difficult to find it out. You have to just go to Glassdoor or some sites like Naukri or Monster. Look for similar jobs. They would have done what are the competencies required for this particular job. Start jobs. Then comes the challenge. This is doable by the student. The second portion is to assess whether I as a student have those competencies at what level. That's the second challenge. This requires some help from professionals or teachers to assess the person and tell him, okay, I can, in a hypothetical, the student can reflect, look at what are the things I have done in life and link it to a competency. Okay. That is possible, but students would need support, because I can do it, but students won't be able to do it because they don't have the expertise. So either they should take the help of faculty who is proficient in it, right? Or they should be able to take the help of some kind of a company which does that for them. There aren't many, but there are a few. It comes at a cost, no doubt about it. But maybe spending 10,000 rupees on it or 15,000 rupees on it is worth. Then 15,000 will be approximately maybe half a month's salary, right? So it makes prudence to put 15,000 rupees or half a month's salary to get this done, then forego 2 months' salary or 6 months' salary. Okay, so that is called prudence. Okay, the students have the prudence to actually invest in such a manner that they will come to know what are the lack of competencies and make up to whatever capability they can. Okay, through online courses or doing a project or something, so that when they go for an interview, they can justify their case as people with competencies to do that role. This much the student should do, right? Okay. Now, the non-placement issue, non-placement issue is very challenging, because if everybody does that, there'll be still a cohort who does not get a job because the demand supply may not match. That's a simple economic side of it. So what would I do for the next 1 year is an important question. I would say, even if you're going to work for free, do an internship, serious internship, not a copy-paste internship, right? Okay, who would do that? So that you can say that, after my degree, I interned, these are the goals I did for the organization. Okay, these are my achievements. These are the competencies I demonstrated. Of course, in the meanwhile, the person who is working in an organization, he'll become a little more mature. He'll be able to talk about competencies a little more authentically. Then apply for the job. That is the only two-way they can do it, rather than get frustrated. It doesn't, go much way, or rather than go and try for another course, right? Okay, another course won't do you anything better than this course what you have done. Okay, that's for sure. So if they follow this strategy, prepare for the competencies to face the interview. If you identify the required competencies, identify your own competencies, even if you have to take some kind of a measurement from somebody, right? Okay. Prepare for the gap in competencies and go with confidence to attend the interview and the group discussion and PI. Okay, what of that? If you still don't make it, okay, you know the competencies, stick to the competencies and create more evidence for the competencies. The problem is in competency, the companies will ask for evidence. If you say I'm result oriented, they will tell you, give me an instance where you actually demonstrated your result orientation. So I should have, if I need to have it, I should work somewhere. I cannot say I have result orientation by sitting at home. Okay, so I worked. My goals are this. I'm goal oriented. I stuck to the goal. I didn't get a job. Very great. But I've done an internship. I have these capabilities. Now look at me afresh. They should take that approach rather than say, yeah, no, you don't get a naukri. I came to the wrong college, this college and all that. So that's kind of a stuff we need to do. Then they will become successful. That's my advice to the students to do that.
So thank you so much, sir. As usual, interaction with you has always been very educative and insightful to us. So we'll just wrap up the session with a few things that you have discussed with us today. So it's like more of for entrepreneurs or for the students. You have said that, if you want to become an entrepreneur, you also need to understand the cash flow. And developing good communication skills should be the key competency that should be working on, and delayed gratification, right? So they need to work on it rather than running for success, instant success. And you also talked about shallow learning method, right? In which might be quite dangerous at times, because for a student it's 100%, but for organization it might be a loss of 70%, as you mentioned. So other things like revisiting the videos and everything. Yes, it has got a lot of negative mindset, not as a learner, but as a person who would actually not indulge himself in proper learning process, because everything is online now. So changing few things, and then maybe approaching the professors will surely help them in understanding what their competencies are, where are they leading to, and what is their goal as well. So I think having a vision for a student is also very much important. So thank you so much for your time today, sir. It's really wonderful connecting with you again.
Thank you so much, sir, for this session.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.